There is no longer a clear division between what is foreign and what is domestic. The world economy, the world environment, the world AIDS crisis, the world arms race, they affect us all. Today, as an old order passes, the new world is more free.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Outside the Box News and Views with Jim Pasilio.
And Lisa Mullinex.
Today we will be speaking with Mark Kornicki and Nancy Kornicki. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This is our third segment with Mark. Nancy's joining us for this one. We wanted to touch on a topic that we didn't quite finish in our last segment about the Federal Reserve System and the National ID Act. Your finishing comments on those?
Well, as we discussed, of course, money in the last segment, money touches everybody in one form or another. Each and every day you're in some form of transaction. As we said before, to be civilized. We don't want to bonk anybody on the head with a rock to take what they have. So we have an equitable system that's in place, or we had an excellent money system before. We have a charade right now. It's not that we have a bad form of government, and it's not that we have a bad banking system per se. We had an excellent mechanism in place. We're not using it. We have the tools at hand. We have good politicians, like we mentioned before. Ron Paul, who's running for the presidency in the Republican
Yes.
Party, he has discussed the issue. There are many individual dissertations that he's given when he's been before Congress on this very subject, on the money supply, talking about bad currency, talking about the Federal Reserve. So it's not just us here, in this program. There are many other educated people around the country that are very knowledgeable that this is a failed system. Now, here's the thing, is that it's a failed system because you have to keep, they try to keep it secret from everybody in many different ways. And one of the things that I wanted to demonstrate is, before anybody, in fact, while the Patriot Movement was talking about the money change, and by the way, this was printed by your Federal Reserve, that foreign Federal Reserve, as Federal Express. This particular document was generated for Federal Reserve employees and was eventually going to be released to the public. We had this in hand when it first came from the GPO, the Government Printing Office. Now, as you'll notice, this explains all of the changes in the currency that, of course, were done, that's right, many years ago now by comparison, back towards the 90s. And at the time, before this actually took place, ladies and gentlemen, they absolutely denied that this was going to happen. They denied that this currency change would eventually, of course, change the way the money was actually handled. Now, what did this do? And this is, of course, the document itself. Your money matters. Cute little phrase there, by the way. Yes, it does matter, but most importantly is it's not money. It's paper currency, or actually it's script. It's a military script. Well, it matters, but it matters that we actually have sound currency in place. And the next step, where they're going to go with this, as we would expect, is the cashless society, for instance. That's obviously where they're headed. We're printing so much paper, we can't keep track of it all. We've discussed this in many different programs where we've covered this on the air when I do radio and when other people have been brought up as guests who specialize in currency or in the market, that we're going to get to the point where there obviously is an agenda to change the currency. Now, of course, the controlled media will go, oh, you crazy patriots, you guys over there just don't know what you're talking about. And yet, as we can go to the internet now, we can see on YouTube, we've seen this on several of different programs or sites where they've saved the comments that are made, of all places, on CNN, ABC, NBC. And what did they talk about? The Amero.
Yep, to bring the Amero in. But I think there's also another way that immediately that we can have an effect on what they're doing with our money. What's feeding the New World Orders a lot is the oil and the money from the oil. And for the general person out there, it's as simple as buying your gas at Citgo, where the money is going to go to Chavez and not the Federal Reserve System or the World Bank or the IMF. And another way that they're feeding it is through the debt. That's how they get their money. That's how they're convincing the general public to go out and spend money that they don't have. And it's this debt that is also feeding this system. And these are steps that could be taken immediately by the people to hurt them monetarily.
Well, good point there. Have you ever thought about this? Okay, here's a challenge for all of your listeners. Reach into your wallet, select the credit card of your choice, go over to your desk or go over to your utility drawer, pull out Mr. Scissors, and let's see how you hesitate cutting it up.
Personally, I don't have a credit card.
Oh, I agree. We're the same situation here. But you see, my point is,
they live off it. They've made it so that the money is so short, people can't afford to live without that card, and they're just feeding that debt, which is getting them more money.
And again, as we've said in an earlier episode, you cannot pay off a credit card debt with another credit card. You cannot continue to accelerate this debt. Now here's the thing. When we talk about credit cards, the Federal Reserve money system is costing us money every time we make a dollar bill. When we make a $1 bill, it costs us at least 11 cents. It may actually be more now. We don't know what the compounded interest is.
We know that the point, that compounded interest. And it's been compounding since they put it into inception in 1933. Now, if you compound the interest on all the money that has been printed between now and then, gee, where's the national debt coming from?
Our dollar's worth about a penny today compared to the 1913
dollar. 4 cents.
4 cents.
Right now.
Which is interesting too, because as we pointed out, it's how much does it cost to print the bill?
Costs more to
11
print right
cents
If it's
before.
only, yeah, it costs us 11 cents, but how much does it cost just for the rag paper and for the special ink? That's probably not very cheap, really, when you look at it, because everything's custom manufactured and it's a trade secret that's kept from everyone. So I don't think we probably got 4 cents, more like 10 cents tied up just in the making of the paper, if they wanted to be honest. And then, of course, we got another problem is we're not being told how many Federal Reserve notes are actually in service now. This is a major change. That means that somebody's probably printing something out on those printing presses. What would that be?
Mr. Kornicki, if I may interject here, you made a statement with regard to the Amero. Could you please explain to our viewers what exactly the Amero is and how you foresee that working into our urge towards a cashless society?
Exactly. The next step right now, as we've already seen from many different reports around the country, is that they're hoping to merge the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Now, this is a disaster for the American people, and I've asked many times, we have a Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. Mexico is a totally different nation from us with regard to structure, both economic and with regard to their political structure. Canada is the same way. Canada is a totally different political creature. It has many alien elements to its government that do not exist in the United States. The money, and of course the changing of our currency, is one of the ways that they will infiltrate into our system and force us to acquiesce, because if they change the currency and they bring these other partners into play, these other partners can be used to pressure the American people in how many different ways economically. You're looking at an equity with regard to currency exchange in Mexico. It has to be equalized. They have to come up, and we've already been seeing this just across the water to our north of where we're sitting right now. Guys, for the first time in our history, we're looking at almost a 1-to-1 parity between what?